Mr. Houston here snuck out of his house to have affairs, and now he's gotten into something of a pickle. The woman he had an affair with, Ms. Herman, now says he is the father of her child. Mr. Houston and his wife are both in court today to refute those claims.
And the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Ms. Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Herman, explain what you mean.
You know what they say. Do not play games with a woman who has an investi-gadget phase. It is going to end really badly for you and your double life lies. But hold on, because it gets even worse.
I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. So I got my investigation glasses on, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children. And I have the evidence right here, Your Honor.
I'd like to see that. Jerome?
5 whole kids? He had 5 kids and was playing these sorts of games outside his home? That is insane. Little wonder he doesn't want this kid to be his. He could now potentially have 6. He better start praying that he isn't the father?
I met her as a gentleman. Before anything, before my father, before my dad, before my liar, before my cheater, before any of these things at all I got going on before I met her wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't curious about the extra stuff.
You know what? This kind of makes sense. His wife and his kids were not really her problem. They did not actually concern her. What they had was between them alone, not a third party, is what I would say if I was insane as Mr. Houston here. But hold on, it gets worse.
He did not.
Yana.
No, the answer is no. Don't
Yana.
let him lie to you. The answer is no. No, N-O, no.
The
he did
night
not.
that-
No.
Listen, how did you meet Mr. Houston?
I met him at a club. He was very charming and appealing at the time, buying me shots of Patron. That's an expensive drink. He also had a truck with rims on it.
Mr. Houston is a very clever man. He's obviously not going to take his new side chick back to his actual home. Instead, he had a very interesting plan, and that plan would shock you.
We were celebrating his marriage, I met her during the process. She seemed like she was out of her comfort zone, like she wasn't even supposed to be in this scene.
She wasn't.
Set. She wasn't supposed to be there, you know what I mean? So I approached her. I said, hey, how you doing,
No, he didn't. He didn't let her know that he was married with 5 whole children. That's probably the most important aspect of that equation, and he didn't let her know it at all. But let's get down to it. What happened next?
But I was okay with what was going on because I had plans on taking
And which home is it?
I didn't take her to my home.
Oh.
But my buddy, he was.
When I found out I was pregnant, I told Cortez that I was pregnant, and he didn't say anything on the other line of that phone. He said, "Are you for real?"
That must have hurt like hell. Imagine discovering that you're pregnant around the same time you find out that your supposed baby father has a wife and 5 other kids. So what happened next? Let's find out.
I wound up leaving, going over there in my car. I went to her house, and once I got there, she always got it laid out. She would have candles here, candles there. She would have it smelling good, and she always didn't have no clothes. She always had this one little silk thing that hang tight on her butt.
Yes, it's too much. And the crazy thing is, Mr. Houston here is confessing to sneaking out of his home at night to meet with his mistress, and he is describing the scene with such happiness. But hold on, because he's about to say something even crazier.
Going through a divorce, things wasn't what she expected it to be.
Look at his eyebrows.
Maybe you didn't understand my question. Did your wife know you left the house to go sleep with another woman?
No, she did not.
Okay.
I
So
wouldn't have let her know that, Yana.
Jerome?
Yes, Mr. Houston, she's here, and she's about to spill the beans on Mr. Houston and his apparently famous lying ways. At this point, everyone probably thinks he's the father of the child, but we'll see after Mrs. Houston has her say.
They were doing whatever it was. A message came in his phone and it said, when I have the baby, I want to move in with you. So I asked her what was her position and was she really pregnant by him? Was she sure it was his baby,
Wait, she was pregnant too? With her 6th kid? Mr. Houston could be the biggest dog to ever be on paternity court. He just said they were on the edge of divorce. How could they be on the edge of divorce if she was pregnant by him? This is so much. But there's only one way to see if Mr. Houston is the baby's father. Let's see what the DNA test results have to say.
Corey Herman. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. I ain't gotta talk to this man not no more.
So you just did all this.
I don't want to hear nothing else you got
know
to
what?
say.
It's
I'm
cool,
free.
you know?
Yep.
Ms. Garrett says that Mr. Boyer is definitely her child's father, but Mr. Boyer insists that he has no spiritual connection to this kid. Does a spiritual sense trump a DNA test? I guess we are about to find out.
You say there's no way the biological father of Garrett's baby. Her child is 2 years old, and you just learned of Naomi 2 months ago. So, Ms.
Yes.
Garrett, tell us, what is going on?
Well, today, Your Honor, I'm here to prove to Mr. Boyer that he is the father.
Ms. Garrett has laid down to law. She's 100% sure that Mr. Boyer is her child's father, and she knows that she will get her child support whether he likes it or not. But let's learn more.
I mean, like, we exchanged numbers. We had inconsistent sex, which was amazing. I'm not gonna sit here and fault to nobody. It was great. I'm gonna keep it real. It was real good, Your Honor.
You all were working real hard at making a child because you weren't using protection.
No, we was not.
That's really sound logic. If you meet someone and you have unprotected sex for 31 days straight, there's a huge chance that they are going to get pregnant. And since they were presumably stuck together doing the do, there's also a pretty big chance the baby belongs to Mr. Boyer. But hold on, because Mr. Boyer has another theory.
It was about a month worth of it, but it would be only like on the weekends. Like, I can't even work for 31
Did you
days.
do it for one day?
Yeah.
You did it for one day?
It definitely happened. It definitely
So
happened.
that's
It definitely
all it
was
takes.
unprotected.
We
but-
know that that's all it takes.
Right.
So you admit you were in this sexual relationship.
What does that even mean? And that's such a disrespectful way to talk to someone who might have had your baby. Mr. Boyer also thinks that since it was too easy for him, it would have been too easy for others too. And that logic makes sense. But it gets better, folks.
After our sexual relationship was over, I wound up dating another guy. Me and him was consistent then.
Oh.
Automatically thought it was the other gentleman's baby, so I did not.
So you started
Dating.
dating somebody new and you thought it was his child.
Right, Your Honor.
Wait, so Mr. Boyer knows that there's a chance. Wait a minute, because this story is sounding incoherent. If Mr. Boyer was actually the only guy Ms. Garrett saw during her conception period, then it would be unlikely for her to think the baby belonged to the other guy. Is there something she isn't telling us here? Let's see where this leads.
Yes, Your Honor, I blocked him on Facebook. I sure did because I wanted to continue my happy relationship.
When Naomi was an infant, she blocked me.
But isn't it ironic you blocked him on Facebook because he was saying, I might be the child's father and we need a DNA test, but now you're here saying that he is the father.
Wow, that's insane. She was willing to tell her child lies about her paternity forever just so she could keep her relationship together? Really? And when did Mr. Boyer finally learn that Naomi could be his daughter?
Same place she blocked me at, and told me like, oh, well, you know, the other boy, you know, the test came back that he's not the dad, so you gotta be the dad. So I was like,
That is not how the
I
conversation
immediately had a
went, Your Honor.
flashback from Talladega Nights, Michael Clark Duncan part when he was like,
Things are starting to sound very weird. On one hand, we have Mr. Boyer who says this baby can't be his because he feels no spiritual connection to her, and Ms. Garrett who was trying to hide his baby from him in the first place. But it gets worse.
And so the DNA test revealed that the man that you were sure was Naomi's biological father was in
100%.
fact not. You started to unblock Mr. Boyer because you were like, oh Lord, I done blocked out the real biological father.
Yes.
So now,
Did she really think that could ever work? Really? Any man faced with a baby after 2 years will naturally question the paternity of the kid. But somehow Ms. Garrett thinks that is unreasonable. Now for the million-dollar question. Is there any other possibility aside from Mr. Boyer?
was there any other possible biological father?
No.
Did you tell anybody else, now that I know this gentleman is not the biological father, it could be you? No other man?
No.
And so you knew it's not this guy, it's Mr. Boyer.
That's it. Case closed. It has to be Mr. Boyer then, right? Well, here's the thing about paternity court. Women lie, men lie, even kids lie. But do you know what never lies? The DNA test results. And here's what those test results say.
Mr. Boyer, you are not the father. He's not the father, Ms. Garrett.
And that's fine, Your Honor. And I can still move on and raise my daughter on my own like I've been doing.
Do you know who her father is?
Yes. But like I said, in between the concession, there was no other guy.
Ms. Tisby says she was in love with Mr. Quaterman and she just wants him to be a man and take care of the child he has with her. Mr. Quaterman, on the other hand, says he will never do such a thing because the baby isn't his. Here's how that case began.
Mr. Quaterman, you say the plaintiff is delusional and is only trying to use you for money, and when the results reveal you are not her child's biological father, you want her out of your life for good.
Correct.
Mr. Quaterman, you say she's using you for your money?
Anytime they come around, it's about money. Yes, ma'am.
Explain.
They come around and they just simply ask for like different items or something like that. And from day one, I've been asking for a blood test.
Wait, so right from the beginning, Ms. Tisby knew that the baby could belong to another guy. That's why Mr. Quaterman thinks that she's just trying to pin this child on him for the money. But hold on, let's see where this case goes.
For relationship.
Yes, ma'am. Casual relationship.
I felt like we was in a relationship.
What gave you the indication that you thought you were in a relationship?
Cause basically he was coming around the whole time. He even told me he loved me, so.
That sounds like a relationship. You
honestly,
love her, you
I mean,
come around all the time.
I have love for her, but not in love with her.
And that's what we like to call a technicality. Mr. Quaterman says he may have told her that he loved her, but that was because he had love for her, not because he was in love with her. If that sounds crazy to you, that's probably because it is. And it's about to get crazier, if you can believe it.
You told him, you admitted there was another guy. You told him that. Did you? So was there another guy?
No, I just said it because he hurting me. He cheating on me.
Oh, you just said that.
But I'm in the wrong.
What is Ms. Tisby doing with her mouth? Anyway, what she is saying does not sound coherent in the least. She says she told him that there was another possibility, but now she is saying she merely lied? That doesn't add up, and Mr. Quaterman agrees it doesn't add up, and it continues to make even less sense.
Yeah, I was with him. I was with the man. But
You just told her that you what?
after we broke up. We broke up and I
But you
got
just told her
with
that it
somebody.
was a
That's
lie
how
and
when
said
I found out I
it
was
wasn't
pregnant.
another guy, right?
It wasn't.
I
Was
want
it
to
together?
Miss Tisby, wait, I need to understand.
Which one is it, yo?
Wait, I need to understand this.
Okay, that's starting to make some sense. The other guy was after she stopped dating Mr. Quaterman, and she insists that there is no chance that this other guy is her baby's daddy. But here is some really sad news that the court didn't know beforehand.
Jordan really was a twin.
Yeah, she a twin.
And there was another baby.
She was 7 days old. I had her and she passed away 7 days after I had her.
And she passed away. I'm sorry. Did you inform Mr. Quaterman that this had
My
happened?
mama called him because my mom and my cousin called him because I wasn't paying attention to nobody but my baby.
Yes.
I ain't have time for nobody but her.
It seems like Mr. Quaterman believes that the only reason he is here is because Ms. Tisby thinks that she can get some money from him. And now he insists that he's always wanted a blood test.
And they were saying that it was my child. I explained to her that it was supposed to be a possibility that it was another guy, whatever. I want a blood test, all this and that. Honestly, I'm not a bad person. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna pay or put up any type of money.
Wait a hot minute, 6 other kids? That is crazy. And this man isn't married. Now it looks like Ms. Tisby believes that since Mr. Quaterman has a history with having twins, Jordan could be his baby. That is horrible logic. And here is what Mr. Quaterman thinks.
You for money.
Never.
Yes, ma'am.
Never asked you for no money.
Even throughout the whole time, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a social media guy. I'm not a big fan of the Instagram and all of those stuff like that. But she had posted some things online, asking, I guess Facebook about am I the father or not.
Wow. Okay, 2 huge red flags there. The first is that she posted this poll on Facebook like she wasn't actually sure he was the father and was trying to get her mind made up. She also didn't even have a regular picture of a man she says she loved. She had to use his mugshot.
But if you lay with somebody, you got to pay the cost. Y'all laid together, y'all stayed together, y'all been together. You could deny what you want to deny. But like I said, now when this baby come out to be yours.
Okay. I think we've heard enough. Ms. Tisby is 1,000,000% sure this is Mr. Quaterman's child, and Mr. Quaterman is very sure that's all a lie. The only way to get to the bottom of this is through the DNA test, and here is what that test says.
Mr. Quaterman, you are not the father.
What?
Huh.
Shantina, who is the father?
Don't
who
start
is
dancing.
the father?
Don't start clowning in
Yes,
here.
no, I ain't.
I asked you at least 3 times. Was there anyone else?
I hope it ain't that who I think. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Mr. Matthews says that he wants to be a good dad to Kiana, and that's why he wants to prove that he is her father. But the case isn't so straightforward, as Ms. Shaw thinks another man is Kiana's biological father.
Mr. Matthews, you say you've made mistakes. Tell me about that.
When I was younger, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, so I can understand that Ms. Thompson would want to act the way she does. When I tried to reach out to her on Facebook, she was kind of angry at me because of my episodes in my life.
It's a rare thing for a man to walk into paternity court and take responsibility for his actions this way. He admits that he just went into there and lied. Hopefully, he doesn't come into this court and lie as well. So what happened next?
Told this lie, what happened?
I looked at him, I turned around and I looked at his wife. And
Did somebody say wife?
Yeah, they both were married.
So you, and you had a husband?
yes.
Yes.
Oh, so you came to court with your wife?
Correct.
This is crazy. So they were both married and were cheating on their partners together. Do you know how insane that is? For two people to have partners and get to cheat on them to the extent that their cheating produced a kid? But it gets worse.
The way that he was with his other kids, he wasn't like that with me. So I wanted him to feel the way he felt about his other kids about me.
I did, but I wasn't really there either. You know, if I wasn't at work, I was ripping and running.
So, Ms. Shaw, I want to know from that point, you decided I'm not even going to be bothered with trying to prove that he is my daughter's biological father.
Okay, but at some point she was so convinced that Mr. Matthews was her daughter's biological father. When did that change? Because she's making the exact opposite claim today. What changed?
He was not the only man that I had slept with. Other
Were
men
you
besides
honest
my husband.
about that to Ms. Thompson, your daughter?
Yes, she's known all her life.
So why did you open the case against Mr. Matthews if you always knew that there was another possibility?
Because when my daughter would go to his house, most of the time she'd be there with his wife, kids. That's why she was crazy about his wife.
Wait, so she wasn't only cheating on her husband with Mr. Matthew? She was also cheating on him with other men? That's such a crazy betrayal of trust, but it gets worse if you can believe it.
Her husband at the time could have been my father. Mr. Brooks could have been my father, and Mr. Matthews. So I always knew that it could have been.
So you grew up knowing that there were at least 3 possibilities of who could be your father?
Yeah.
Did you, in your mind, say, I would prefer this one or that one, I know this one better?
Seems like Mr. Matthews has a lot of experience lying, but his mother didn't agree with him at all. She made sure she told his wife about the possibility, and he just lied some more. What about the actual husband here? Did Kiana think of him as her father?
Felt like he didn't want to be in touch with me.
Did it ever lead you to seek out the other?
No.
Well, you knew your mother's husband.
No, I didn't know him.
You didn't really know him either?
No, we tried to make it work for the kids' sake because we had 2 sons together.
Well, I get that, but it just sounds like Ms. Thompson here was insulted by that comment. If you're cheating on your husband with at least 2 other men, you shouldn't be insulted if he thinks your baby isn't his. Let's continue.
So who was at the hospital when she was born?
He came up there.
Did.
He came
You
up there.
did?
Jody came up there.
Wait, who's
my
Jody?
husband? Well, Mr. Brooks.
So Mr. Brooks came?
Yeah.
Mr. Matthews came?
And my deceased husband, he came.
Oh, it was basically
This is such a circus. The fact that people can be so careless with the lives of their kids is just insanity. Right now, it even looks like they have unfinished business, and even the daughter in question knows it.
A lot of the times I feel like he only wanted to be around me to be around her.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait, whoa.
Because there's a lot of times where she's like, oh, I talked to Mr. Matthews today, and she would talk to him, and I hadn't talked to him for 10 years. So how can you talk to her, but you're not talking to me?
I tried.
They are even flirting in court. It looks like the only reason Mr. Matthews is even litigating this case is so that he can see Ms. Thompson. Anyway, it's time to see what the DNA test results say about that.
Mr. Brooks is not her father. What are you feeling in this moment, Ms. Shaw?
That's what she needed. He the father. He not gonna be there.
Mr. Matthews, you are not the father. I'm so sorry, Kiana.
Wow.
Neither gentleman is her biological father.
She'll always be mine no matter what.
Mr. Buckley says he is very sure that he isn't the father of the child that Miss Curtis says belongs to him. He insists that she's a cheater who's slept with half the country, and there is no chance that her baby is his. Ms. Curtis, of course, denies all of that. Here is how it begins.
You say today's results mean everything. Explain.
Well, Your Honor, I grew up with a father. I know how important it is to have a father in your life. And Mr. Buckley says it's very important for our child to grow up with a father. And so with him being in and out of our life, and kicking us, not only me, but his son out of his apartment.
That is a really touching story, and Mr. Buckley is already denying kicking her out of his house. But something must have happened here, right? She can't just be lying, right? I guess we'll see.
Allowed her to live in my apartment at that time. I was being nice to her. She got mad at me because I was with someone else. I didn't want a relationship with her. She told me she was gonna make my life a living hell while living in my apartment. And that's why I called my landlord. I was being nice to Mrs. Curtis.
Okay, it looks like this case is shaping up. Mr. Buckley believed that there was a chance the child was his, and that is why he let her stay in his house. But when she promised to make his life a living hell, he changed his mind, right?
I was in a relationship before, and we tried to conceive a child. We went to fertility specialists, and we were on medicine and kept up with ovulation dates and the whole nine, and it didn't happen. As soon as we separated, she ended up having 2 other children, and that happened in not only that relationship, but with the following relationship that I was in.
Oh, darling, that's not what he meant. Mr. Buckley clearly didn't mean he was the father. He meant he was ready to be a father to the child. But Ms. Curtis somehow took that as Mr. Buckley taking responsibility for the child, and it gets even more complicated here.
And his family.
Your Honor, she also told me she had sex with someone while she was pregnant. So why?
While I was pregnant is different than when I conceived.
Before he was conceived, you were with other people.
No, I wasn't. I worked 8-9 hours a day, and then I went over to your apartment.
That means you got plenty of other hours left.
From leaving work at 4:30 and being at your house by 5?
Wow, that is heavy. Ms. Curtis is so certain that there is no other possibility here, and why shouldn't she be? If she only slept with Mr. Buckley during the conception period, then he has to be the father, right? Here is how the birth went.
When I woke up and they wheeled me by the nursery to see him, Mr. Buckley was standing there with tears running down his face. That was the moment that I fell in love with Mr. Buckley. He'd been standing there since he came into the nursery until I got rode to my room about 2:30. That's a couple hours him standing there just looking at our beautiful son.
Buckley says he might have been emotional through the birth, but he still doesn't think he can have kids. He even says that was probably the reason why he was so emotional. Let's learn more about this crazy case.
Mine are at a constant battle. My heart wants him to be, but my mind knows better. What you see right there is my heart.
If your mind knew better, why did you sign the birth certificate?
Because of my heart.
Why'd you sign the acknowledgement of paternity? You want to talk about you have doubts that you couldn't have kids? I went through chemo and radiation. They told me all my eggs were fried, that I would never be a mother. But I'm a mother to a beautiful little boy.
So Mr. Buckley has 2 reasons for his doubt. First, he thinks that he cannot have children, and secondly, he believes that Ms. Curtis was simply too promiscuous at the time. Now let's hear from this witness.
This is my house, my back door, and this is Mrs. Curtis' front door. And as you can see, I can see everything. We were friends. We've been friends. I told her, I see you. When we found out she was pregnant, she had a boyfriend. He passed away. They were together. And mind you, there were other men.
Wow, it looks like Ms. Curtis didn't expect this at all. Her neighbor and her friend totally spilled the beans about all her extracurricular activities, and her excuses just couldn't hold any water. But hold on, it gets worse.
Been coming in and out of my house, but I was sleeping with those other men.
And there was no old boyfriend that was still lingering around?
We had stopped messing around before I even met Mr. Buckley. And he passed away.
That's not true, Your Honor. I was told stories about her being with him while we were together. She would go back to her apartment.
Well, like we always say in paternity court, women and men lie, but DNA tests, they never lie. There are a lot of accusations of lies here today, but the only way to get to the bottom of those accusations is by reading the DNA test results.
Mr. Buckley, you are not his father.
Ms. Rogers says her childhood friend got her pregnant, and now she wants him to step up and be the father. Mr. Stone, on the other hand, insists that Ms. Rogers is a whore who's even slept with some of his friends, so he cannot be the father of her kid. Here is how that crazy story begins.
Rogers, you say there's no doubt Mr. Stone is Christian's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
I met him in elementary school with friends. I kind of moved away after a while. We was close friends, but we never kept in touch because we were so young. And one day, after some years of being apart, I was at my friend's house, or I was at her boyfriend's house, and we were...
That's crazy. These two were friends as children, and then they met up years later and slept together on the very first day they met. Nothing good starts with sleeping with someone on the first day you meet them, but it gets worse.
Girl that he had talked to, but he stopped talking to her.
When I walked into that house, she was at one of my friends' house. And when I walked in, she was already hugged up with one of my friends.
I was not hooked up with nobody. When he walked in the door, I was sitting at the table.
On his lap.
I was not on nobody's lap. When he came in the door, I was sitting at the table. The friend that he was talking about was in the kitchen. I was not sitting on nobody's lap.
Well, what can you say? Mr. Rogers may be careless, but he's not that careless. He made sure that he had a condom on. If he really did have a condom on, then Ms. Rogers' case may not be as airtight as she thinks it is. Let's see.
Yes, we had a condom on. Yes, the first time we went to his house, yes, we did have a condom on. Not every time I had sex with him, we wore a condom. Not every time.
Did you have unprotected sex
one time,
with
Your
Ms.
Honor.
Stone?
It was not one time.
And that was in the threesome.
It was not one time.
In the where?
And the threesome between me and her.
Hey, what are you gonna do? She was not in a relationship. It was just friends sleeping together. That's it. She was just sleeping with two friends without being in a committed relationship with them. That's it. And she was having threesomes on the side. What are you gonna do? Anyway, let's learn more.
Boy, during me and him having sex,
I heard that
we did not have sex until after I had stopped talking to him.
I heard it happened the day before, 3 days after, and then...
No, I never slept with the boy.
When she
I never slept with no boy's lap.
Wait, so during the whole time Mr. Stone was sleeping with Ms. Rogers, she was also having sex with his friend? Okay, this case is starting to look kind of crazy. But hold on, things are about to take an insane twist.
Sex, I did not sleep with nobody else. All these boys in his little friend group that he has, I've known a lot of them a very long time.
She told me you were in a relationship already.
I was in a relationship. I have just got out of a relationship. I was not with nobody when I was with him.
But were there any benefits with the other friends?
Well, looks like they were not just catching up based on what Mr. Stone heard. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. What matters is if Mr. Stone was the only one she slept with during the period of conception. So let's get to the facts.
I went to the doctor to get my birth control shot because I know I'm having sex, so I'm like, I need to go because I don't want to have no more kids.
Anymore?
I have twins.
18 years old with 3 children?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't want no more kids because I had just gotten accepted to college. Everything was looking up, so I was like, I wanted to
18 years old with 3 kids? That is insane. Shouldn't you get birth control before you start sleeping with people and having threesomes all around? Anyway, what does Mr. Stone think about this?
My friends, they pulled up on me, and he said he had to go pick his girl up and her, which is her best friend. We get to them, we drop them off at the hospital. Imagine, I don't know what we doing. She haven't said nothing. Imagine, we did drop her off at the hospital. I did not know not one thing. We dropped them off and left.
Someone here has to be lying, right? It is either Mr. Stone's is just telling tall tales, or Ms. Rogers is playing a really calculated game here. But if Mr. Stone's is correct, why would she hide her pregnancy from the supposed father for so long? Let's find out if the days even add up.
Did you determine the baby was Mr. Stone's?
When that day I went to that ultrasound, I found out I was having a boy, and that lady told me when my baby was conceived.
Okay, so at your ultrasound, you got the date, the conception date.
Days don't even add up, Your Honor.
An entire month? That is a lot of sleeping together. And at some point, you need to accept that there are some consequences that come with this sort of behavior. Anyway, we have heard enough. What do the DNA test results say?
Mr. Stone, you are not the father.